In this video, we're doing the last bit of prep for the trailer. We're mounting all the solar glands, and we're finally drilling all the holes to hold on the roof rack for the solar. But then we're going to get into fully building out the solar panel system in the next video and hoisting it up and mounting it, so you have to stay tuned, but let's finish all the prep first. Okay, so I'm moving on to the roof glands. When I bought these off of Amazon, they didn't really seem like they're going to be as hard as they are, but they're like rock hard, which is kind of nice. Has a good surface right here. We're going to put the butyl tape, which is basically like a tack tape. Put that all the way around, and then I'm going to be bolting these on. So the hardware that it comes with is kind of like more like a wood screw. I'm going to be using, I think, 1032 flatheads going into a nylon locking nut with a big washer on the other side, so I can really get these things torqued down. Also, since this is raised up, you can just see, because I mocked up a panel here, all of these miss, which is pretty sweet. Not to mention the panel, it has a bit of a gap to the top of the panel, so it's recessed. The panel's recessed, so the panel's actually only about that thick. So I got all of that gap, but we're not going to need it. So the reason I'm shoehorning everything in right here is because right here on the inside is where the solar charge controllers, the bus blocks that all of this is going into, that's where that's going to be. The other reason it's relatively, it's in the center. It'll be where the center panels are. See, there's 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is the third one in the middle. So it's the best spot. There's a beam on the inside right here. As you can see by the hole that I've marked out, there's a beam right there. So it's all about just shoehorning all this stuff in. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use this square, and I'm probably going to tape these to the square so that they're all nice and flat, and then slide them in, line them up, and then tape on the sides, and then mark the holes. And then after I'm done drilling these holes, I'll figure out how I'm drilling the hole in the center, but I'm drilling about a 1-inch hole in the center, and then I got these rubber grommets that will go on the hole so that this aluminum won't scratch it up, or scratch up the wires. So it'll be finished and it'll look nicer. The reason I'm using a square, you wouldn't necessarily have to use a square, it's just when I'm on the inside, I don't want to see a bunch of, everything all, I'd like to see everything all squared up if I can. So all right, I'm going to get started now. All right, this part I just took my time, and I just wanted to see everything nice and squared up, so then that way when I was looking from the inside, because you're mainly going to see all these holes from the inside. So just definitely take your time on this. You won't regret it every time you're in your trailer, just looking up and seeing everything all nice and lined up and squared up. Okay, got everything all nice and lined up. It turned out really well. I got it, the edge of this pretty much, I just eyeballed it so that those would look good, and then I bottomed out against the angle that we put up. I wanted to do the glands before we were finishing this up. I think it looks pretty good. So the next step is I'm going to mark these out with the Sharpie, every hole with the Sharpie, and then I'm going to take these off and then drill out. I'll probably center punch and drill out every one, and then I'll figure out where I'm putting the 1-inch hole in here for the wires, and then that should be it for these. I'll probably won't bolt these on until we're putting this on finally. The reason is all the wires coming in, they have to go in, so I'm imagining putting the wires in. Let me get you there. I'm imagining putting the wires in and then trying to hit the 1-inch hole on the inside is going to be kind of challenging, so I think that these will be one of the last things to be put on, but all right, so let's get to that. All right, now that everything is all nice and lined up, I'm marking every hole out with the Sharpie, and then once they're marked out with the Sharpie, you can take them all off, and
Now I'm center punching every single one so that the drill has a nice place to bite in. This sheet aluminum is pretty thin, so it just bends into it. Now I'm drilling everything out. This part's pretty straightforward and easy. Now I'm connecting all the lines with the straight edge so that because all the holes up here, they kind of get a little bit confusing. So I'm doing this so that I know where all of the glands are actually going to be, and then from this I can actually mark out where the hole is going to go in for the rubber grommet. Now I'm center punching all the holes, and now I'm drilling them out. And here's my hole saw, and then pretty straightforward, just drilling them all out. It would definitely help to deburr these after you drill them.
All right, got everything drilled. So I basically just pulled how far up this hole was, just kind of just whatever looked okay, and then just kind of went over and just measured it, just trying to get it relatively center and relatively all the same looking. So here's the grommets I'm going to put in. They're pretty cool because on the package it tells you exactly all the dimensions you're looking for. So the inner diameter is going to be 3/4 of an inch. The outer diameter is going to be 1 3/8. This is the T diameter is 1 1/16, and then the minimum diameter of your hole has to be 15/16. So basically almost an inch. So how this is going to go in is it's kind of like a donut, but then has like a split down it. So you're going to want to get that split in the middle. You can see it there, it popped in, and then you pretty much just kind of walk it around. You could put some kind of adhesive in here, but it's a pretty tight fit. And then you just keep walking it around. The last little bit is usually the hardest. And you might need to straighten it out from the inside as well. And then stick your finger in, work it around. And there you go. Like, so when your wires are coming in, there's not going to be anything sharp hitting it. Now, what I'm also going to say is these are sort of aerodynamic to this way, and that would be the front of the trailer. But they're longer this way, and I'm going to have it underneath the solar panel, so I don't think it matters as much. Also, I looked for a gland that could, I basically have 20 different wires coming in. There'll be more when I'm doing the wiring about whether I'm doing parallel or in sequence. So, and there'll be more explanation of why I have all the wires going in. But I couldn't find anything. I found one with like 3 or 4, and I looked and through the strain relief, I couldn't really fit more than one of the wires because I'm using 10 gauge to here. So you can see that that lines up fine, and we're not hitting that bumper on the inside. This is how much room I have before I'm hitting that bumper. So I'm just going to pop the rest of these in, and then we're going to move on to the next thing.
Putting in these rubber bushings is pretty straightforward. Just make sure you deburr the hole. It makes it go in a lot easier.
Okay, got all these in. Some of them fit perfectly. Other ones, I think I need to go on the inside. Sometimes the rubber lip gets tucked the wrong way, because some of these you could see they're really loose, which is what you want. That shows it's free. This one, I bet you just on the inside right there, it's just tucked in wrong. Another thing I wanted to point out is you can see how thin this aluminum on the top is. It is extremely thin. So that is the reason why you couldn't just mount the panels to this, because if one of those panels caught air, it would probably peel this back like a can opener. So on to drilling these guys out. Okay, so how I'm gonna drill these out, I've already did this one, and I ran this 3-inch lag in. And what's cool is on the inside, I'll show you later, perfectly executed. Very excited about that. So this one, we're trying to hit this other beam right there. So since I could see this, this beam on the inside from the outside, everything is based off of this one. 24 that way, 24 that way. So basically the first thing I'm doing, because if you, I don't know if you could see down the hole, it's basically just a flat sheet. So I'm taking the same drill that I drilled this out with, I'm running it down, and then it's basically putting a divot in the center of that hole, and then I'm running this down as far as I can go, and then I'm using this bit. So the reasoning behind this bit is slightly smaller by like 20 thousandths smaller than this. If I just use this to go in all the way, it's going in through 3 different sheets of steel. And what'll happen is it'll plunge through, and then when it hits the next sheet, it'll stop because there's no hole. It has to drill the hole. And then wherever that sheet is right here, it's just going to strip those threads, and then it's going to plunge through, and then it's going to strip those threads. So the best bet is to run this all the way down, and then basically this has a hole where it barely has to drill anything, but then still has maximum bite. So that's my reasoning behind it. So I'll just, it's pretty straightforward, but I'll film the first one, and then just got to, I think there's 7 on each side, so I probably won't be able to get to the 2 in the middle over there until I pull it out of the warehouse, but you can use your imagination.
All right, so this part I'm taking my time. I wish I could have found some longer drill bits, but I was just trying to use what I had, and I'm just taking my time, going up drill bit to drill bit, and then I actually screwed this in by hand because I wanted to feel everything and push down pretty hard on it.
All right, so that was basically all there is to it. You do have to, or at least I do have to put the drill bit barely even hanging on all the way to the tip because of where that screw needed to be, and I need this much clearance. There are drill bit extensions I can get, but realistically I only need to drill 12 holes now. So basically that's all I did was I drilled this one in till it marked this, and then this bit found a way, and it went through the first 2 layers, and then I had this bit to go the rest of the way through the first 2 layers, and then through the 3rd layer, and then it's in. Let's go check the inside, and we'll see if any of these poke through. Okay, so we're on the inside of the bathroom now. So that front screw came through this into this beam. So it went through the top of this, the bottom of this, and then through this angle. So you can kind of see the shavings right there a little bit, but from the bathroom itself, you can't even tell. Same thing with this one. Came through here. Let's see, it came through there, went through the bottom part of this, in through this, and then I drilled into this so that it wouldn't be bowing or pushing this out. Worked out great. So these were the 2 I was the most concerned about, because everything inside of here, it doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't really matter here, but I just wanted to try not to do that here. So I'm pretty excited. I got those 2. So now it's basically just doing the other 2. So right there is where the bolt is. And if you come down, right there is where it went through. All right, I'm gonna knock out the rest of them. Pretty much same thing. Use 3 different drills, get it through, and then I'm only barely snugging them up. I'm not doing anything crazy yet. All right,
same process, just going through, drilling as many holes as I can. I wasn't able to get over the fender on the other ones inside the warehouse, so I'll have to do that outside. But I'm just pushing down as hard as I can, making sure that we're not skipping any threads and we're not stripping out the bolts. These bolts were a little bit pricey, so I don't think I have very many more than I actually needed. So I'm making every one count, but I'm not actually like super snugging them down until I'm actually ready to mount this. Just making sure all the holes are ready to go for when the solar panel is finally fully assembled and ready to go in.
Okay, I'm moving on now to the brackets that hold down the solar panels. These little tabs right here stick out further than the extruded aluminum. So I'm going to cut them down about that much, about as soon as the radius starts. That's where I'm going to cut it down from. And I got these bull nose snips. There you go. This snips it right off, no problem. So I could cut it down here, but I might as well have as much lateral strength because it's going to help push against the strut as much as it can. I don't want that sticking down because the that would be a sharp point on the roof. So if you see, those are below flush, and that's what I'm shooting for. But the original ones, so if there's any wobble or bounce in this bar, you could have that very specific point possibly puncturing holes in the top. So I'm just going to go through and snip them all off.
So the tool I'm using is Tough Built Bulldog Aviation Snips. They really make this a breeze, and I highly recommend getting some aviation snips to cut yours if you need to.
Okay, now that I finished those, I'm going to take all the solar panels out and get them to this point. Probably won't film it because it's just going to be kind of awkward and big, but basically all I'm doing is putting the M6 by 25 millimeter nylon locking nut and big washer, all stainless. Putting it right here. I'm pushing the mount as close to the frame as possible and tightening them down. So that's all I'm doing right now.
All right, so I wanted to round off the roof rails. So I have a very small underpowered disc sander that I'm going to try out. And I'm going to have my son balance the back and just kind of match my movements. So he's trying to support it perfectly and not lifting up, just kind of supporting the weight and following my lead. It's kind of one of the only ways you can do this, even if you had a bigger disc sander, because you're going to need somebody just kind of balancing behind you. But yeah, this turned out pretty well. We are able to match up both sides, and everything looks perfect. And then we clean both rails with some acetone and get off all the markings, and then the rails look perfect and beautiful, and they are ready for the next video to mount all the solar panels and finally hoist this thing up and put it onto the trailer. In the next video, the long anticipated video, we finally assembled the full solar system. We put all the panels on, we build the full rack with all the Loctite, everything, and then we show you how we're actually going to put this on top of the trailer so you cannot miss it. Please subscribe, please stay tuned, and just follow along for all the updates coming to the trailer.